So welcome to those of you who have joined us here today at the startup stage. We're now going to look deeper into what the reality for female entrepreneurs are and what we can do about it. We're not just going to look into all the problems, but we're also looking into actionable futures. So some of the numbers that you might have seen around are less than encouraging, to say the least. And it's some of what has motivated me and my colleagues to do something about it. What you might know is that only 8% of all entrepreneurs are women, and there are 27% all in all. You might also have read somewhere that female founded teams only receive 0.1% of the total venture funding. Pretty depressing numbers, if you ask me. And that was actually the motivation why we started the Unbiased program that just got the prize. We need to change these numbers because it's not reflective of the ratio of male-founded and female-founded startups. Also, 10.8% of investment goes to mixed-founded teams, which leaves about 90% that goes to all male teams, which was a bit of a shock to me, to be honest. Female-founded teams actually perform quite well if you look at the return on investment. So that's part of the good news. And there's lots of good news to share today. We can also see that there's an increasing numbers of female students in STEM. So we want to keep working for that so that we have a bigger pool to encourage women to go into entrepreneurship from. Of course, entrepreneurs can be both from STEM fields, but also from non-tech fields, and we want to include all of them. So there are lots of reasons why we have these numbers. We want to look deeper into that. But there's also some barriers to females in entrepreneurship that the Danish Center of Commerce have looked into. For instance, that there's a lack of role models, there's a lack of funding, and sometimes there's a lack of confidence and belief in own abilities to do something about it. We also experience bro language, as it's called, like a masculine-dominated culture in the startup ecosystem. And then there's the structural things, such as the way there's earmarked paternity and maternity leave and so forth. But we need to discover what are the path forward from these numbers. And with me here today, I have 3 very capable panelists. They're all entrepreneurs and quite accomplished. I'm excited to invite on stage Lisa Dalsgaard, who's the founder of GoodiePack. Please give her a hand. So GoodiePack is a digital service that enables event makers and cultural institutions to engage with their audience and have growth, have better sales. We also have Anna Riis Hedegaard, who's the founder and CEO of the Zero Mission. They provide green energy for companies and thereby contribute to the green transition. And we have Ella Harris, who's the founder and CEO. And welcome to Casper as well, the founder and CEO of Uvisa Health, which is a home device to treat vaginal infections with UV light. So please join me in taking a seat on stage. And we have quite a bit of questions that we would like to get through today. We are also going to open up for questions from you guys. So these are the beginning stages of it. Let's see what we got. So one of the first things I'm wondering if you have an opinion about is, why do you think the numbers that we've just seen on screen, why are they so skewed? Do you have an idea of why so few women venture into entrepreneurship? We've heard a little bit in the previous session, but maybe not everybody were there, or perhaps you can share from your own life.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Lisa. Maybe one of the questions that I get the most is So how do you get your confidence? And I get that question from women. So I think that's the thing, the confidence, and also maybe being really risk averse and willing to take risk. I think that's maybe a thing that's different between male and females. So the question about confidence, I'll get back to it later, but I think that's my agenda for today.
Yeah. And what's your take on the numbers?
So actually, I think, like for male and female founders alike, the biggest problem is cash. How do you pay your rent? How can you finance growing your company? So when looking at the numbers for funding, I think there's an amazing amount of women who actually enters into entrepreneurship, which really shows that many women are really interested in starting their own company. So this is my take on these numbers. And if I should just say, okay, why do I think it's so hard for female founders to get funding? I don't think there anyone here who particularly don't want to invest in female founders, but what I see as a major issue is that many venture funds, but also angels, they have like these check boxes, so they are looking for software. There are not that many female software engineers. They are looking for proprietary tech, but many females study other kinds at other kinds of universities. So like all of these check marks makes it quite hard for female founders to really get venture capital.
And Ella?
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good point, especially about venture capital. That is a specific model that fits a masculine narrative more. It just does. The types of companies that they're starting, the types of industries that men work in versus women. But I think it starts actually much, much earlier. I think it starts from the second a woman is pregnant and is told the sex of that baby, because then the narrative starts. Oh, you're having a boy, watch out, they're boisterous. Yeah, oh, you're having a girl, how sweet, how lovely. And it goes from there. And that's why we have fewer women in software and in engineering, etc. Because they're told their whole lives that, oh, you're really good at languages and aren't you creative? Whereas boys are told, oh, look at you building those bricks, that's awesome, I'll buy you some Lego. Here you go, girls, have some Lego friends with some nice ponies and some pink packaging. That's for you. So I think it starts right from conception, actually, and I think we have to change the narrative from then.
Yeah. So there's a social conditioning that's happening from very early ages, and there's actually a very interesting TED talk. I forget the name of the speaker. She's Indian, and she says that we teach little girls to be perfect, and we teach little boys to take risks and be bold.
Yeah.
But then again, we can't wait for the next generation that have been brought up right in order to have more female entrepreneurs. So I'm curious about, well, I want to get to a solution mode. But maybe before that, we could share an anecdote each about what have you experienced in terms of a situation where you feel like this would have been different had I been the man.
Yeah, so I think maybe the biggest difference from being a female entrepreneur and male entrepreneur is that every time you enter a room, when being a female, people expect you to be the tag-along. So like, when you come in, I have a co-founder in my company, but I run the company, I'm the CEO. He's a technical one, and we have a really good teamwork. But when we enter the room, people expect maybe me to be the tag-along. And I need to change that, mentally for myself, but also for people. So I'm going to share some tricks today because I see a lot of women in the audience. And what I've learned is that it's really important when you enter a room. And so I feel people, or like women in general, maybe need to demand the respect a bit more. It's not like males don't need to do that. But like when I go to a network event, for instance, a lot of people in the room, the first thing I do is I go around and I give hand, because then people know, I'm not afraid, I have confidence. And a lot of time other people don't do that, but I always go around because I demand my respect from entering the room. And I don't think that maybe men need to do and think about the same as I do.
Well, in my opinion, I wouldn't know how I would be treated had I been a man. So I don't know if I'm treated differently, and maybe I also have another perspective because I think I get treated too much the same. So, like the advice I often get from people is, could you please act more like a man in a pitching situation? A man would be more bold, more confident, would not show when he's unsure of the numbers. Because investors, they will expect that you say larger numbers that you're actually able to achieve, so they will subtract for themselves. Instead of investors looking at me and saying, okay, maybe this is not your typical San Francisco tech founder. Maybe she's communicating in another way. So this is like one example, and just another example I would like to share about just how little or the box is that they are trying to fit me into. Is I gave an interview recently to an American magazine on startups, and they got back to me after some months where had written out the interview, and I could suddenly see that they had put in a lot of expressions which I would never have used. So like, now we're gonna ignite that rocket or pedal to the metal. And I'm like, what? But they obviously thought she's just too boring. She's not in that box. Yeah.
Yeah, I have similar anecdotes. So I am part of the InnoFounder program by Innovation Fund. Amazing. Thank you so much, Innovation Fund. But as part of that program, we have to fill out a quarterly scorecard. On that scorecard, one of the questions is, how much grit do you have? Like, I'm sorry, what? What exactly is grit? Do you mean how much determination do I have? How passionate am I? Can I execute? Like, what do you mean? But to me, that's just, again, this like tech bro language where it's like, yeah, grit, execute. Like, you know, like it just doesn't speak to women. And so a very, very quick fix that actually, credit to the Innovation Fund, they have actually already made, I've been informed this morning, is don't use words like grit and hustle. Like, we all know what hustlers used to be, right? You know, like back in the day. I don't want to be seen as that. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a serious one as well. I'm a businesswoman. Grit to me is a really immature word that I dislike a lot. So please stop using it.
Yeah, language really matters. And I think we see that too when we, as the ecosystem, try to invite more female entrepreneurs into our programs. Like, it's almost like a lot of male students, they assume, of course, I'm invited once I see a poster or something, whereas women might need to more specifically be invited. And I think there could be a step-by-step transition where we might start out with some female-led and directed programs, like, say, a program for female entrepreneurs specifically, and then transition out of that again. But sometimes it's good to have a specific invitation where they know it's you that we want in this room.
To the point about InnoFounder as well, when I told them that I was pregnant and going on maternity leave, bearing in mind, InnoFounder pays a salary. So to claim your Basel money back from the state, which is more than the salary that I pay myself, just to add, when I told them that I was pregnant and that I was going to need some leave, which was very small, they told me, oh, sorry, we don't support you through that. We've never had founders that are pregnant. And actually, there was two, just with my new business mentor in that program. She was experiencing it with two founders. So they'd never thought about it. They'd never thought, how do we support a pregnancy through this program? And I think that just goes to show as well. Like, it's just not considered.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Well, that's a really good point, and it goes also to the box you're talking about, and that a founder looks in a specific way to people, that if you don't fit that box, then they don't know what to do with you.
Exactly.
Right?
So female-specific programs, I think, is a great suggestion, you know?
Yeah.
With those considerations in mind, that women right now are the only ones that can, you know, continue the population. So maybe let's support them doing that.
And I know you had another perspective as well when it comes to dividing up the Basel or the parental leave, because there are some obstacles there.
Yeah, so the Danish government have recently changed the Basel law so that they give men and women equal leave. That's, on paper, a very great thing for equality. And it's amazing that so many men will get that opportunity to take the time with their children. However, the financial support that goes with it hasn't been really thought out. So my husband is the main breadwinner of my relationship because I'm a founder, and most of you know we don't earn a lot of money at the start. So, and also we spend our savings on our business, which is really stupid. So we don't financially plan very well as founders. And that means that my husband, to take his 6 months, really needs his salary. But there's no mandate that companies that can afford to pay a salary, pay a salary. So he would get the Basel Dagpenge, which is great. It is support, and I'm not knocking that. But it's not enough to live off. And so he can't take his leave. And I can't really take leave because I'm a founder, which means that I'm here with a baby on a stage because who else is going to look after him? So there's some things to iron out, I think, with that system.
Yeah. So full-time mom, full-time founder.
Yep. And please don't look at me and think, wow, what a great role model. Isn't she inspirational? Because if I didn't have to be in this situation, I wouldn't. So better support, please, for female founders that want to have babies.
So this has already been a smooth transition into solution mode, where we get to shout out what are the things that could actually be changed in the system. And I know all of you travel, and I know that you see different situations, both in different industries and countries and so forth. Do you have inspiration to what the Danish system could do better? Who could we learn from? Are there countries that have it all figured out, or are we still piecing it together country by country?
Yeah, so this is just my opinion. As a founder in general, I think it's the same if you're a male or female. We need salespeople. And to recruit salespeople or to recruit developers, when I need developers, I know I can go to DTU or Aalborg University. I know where to find them. I know where they get educated. And then we can talk about where's the schools for the salespeople. I know CBS and everything, but where's the sales school? There's not a company in general that doesn't need salespeople. But where is the sales school? It's not like really easy to find. So I believe we should be, as a country, even better to have a sales school. And in this sales school, we should get some women in. Because I believe that if we can learn people and women in general to sell, I believe we will get a lot more entrepreneurs. Because if you figure out that you can actually sell, why not do it for yourself? And I think women will be the first to figure that out, maybe. So yeah, we have a lot of ideas, of course, but this is maybe just a personal one. I think we need a sales school, and we need to get some more women in that school.
Have you seen other countries doing that?
I have not seen it exactly, but I just went to Silicon Valley here for 1.5 months, and it's totally different there. Being here is like, sometimes it's a boys' club with all the investors here in Denmark. I've had my company for 8 years. I'm in tech. I don't know why they're not, they don't know me. It's maybe my fault, but still, there's so few women in tech. But when I go to Silicon Valley, it's like, whoa, they look at me like I'm a golden egg walking on shells, Yeah, so it's completely different there, and you just get the respect right away because of all the facts. And I don't think we have the same here in Denmark. What to do about it, I think just in general, we need to maybe just respect each other more. When I go to a fair, I can talk to a guy in a nice suit. One time I talked to a small girl and spent my time with her, and I was trying to sell something to her, and she was actually ending up writing a thesis about my company, getting my company into another company, and I got a huge order by doing that, choosing the girl and not just only talking to the man. So I think sometimes we just need all of us to think about not to be in boxes. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know who people are, so be more open and figure out who people are instead of judging them beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I feel strongly about gender equality, obviously, but I think we just need to change how we discuss it, because at the moment it seems like it's only a problem for female founders and not for investors. And that is also what I see in this audience. You're so many women in the audience, and almost no men. And I think that is because it's only perceived as a female problem. But in reality, what is happening is that investors and funds are overlooking very attractive business opportunities because they focus so narrowly on so specific businesses, which are, by the way, not likely to thrive in a high interest rate society. So I think that we should focus a lot more in discussing, okay, what kind of opportunities are investors missing out here, and how can we make them see these opportunities? And that could be, for instance, focusing more accelerators in non-tech educations. What about nursing schools? We know we have a lot of issues in financing public health. What about solution for that, for instance? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get investments if you're tech-driven. And sometimes that's an issue because it's all about problem solving, really. So whether you do it through tech or you do it through other means, it shouldn't really matter. It's the impact
Exactly.
that drives it at the end of the day. Yeah. So oftentimes people say that it's easier for women to get meetings with investors, but it's more difficult to close the deal. Is that something that any of you can see yourself in?
Yeah, I don't know. I think in general, I would like, when we get further in this discussion, I would also like to talk about the benefits of being a woman, because it's like it's not like it's just negative at all. You know, I'm so happy to see so many women. But investor-wise, you know, my experience is just that I think being a woman, you need to be aware of the signals you are sending, especially in the investor environment. Of course, I've had issues like I guess a lot of other women has had, where people are coming with bad intentions and you're wasting your time. So I think that's the thing. It's like it's something men to men. They don't experience it in the same way as we do as women. But otherwise, I don't see the bigger issues. I just see that they're losing out on opportunity, and yeah, you know, those who are not losing out, they will win this game. So, yeah.
I have had a lot of success. I've had a lot of success.
We can tell.
That's a killer of that. I mean, let's be real. This will be a story that I go and tell people forever. I've had a lot of success in getting meetings with investors. And I have had a lot of failure in, converting those meetings into investment. And, you know, it could be the business model. It could be the market. It's not the market. It isn't the market. I work in women's health. The market is 52% of the population. It's not the market. It could be me. I don't know. But I get a lot of meetings with investors. And they generally give me good, positive feedback, but I get grilled every single time. Are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? Is this true? And I'm like, look at this data that I have, that I didn't make up, by the way. And I have spoken to men in other startups and asked them about their data and said, how did you get these numbers? And they went, oh, I just made them up. Just made them up. I have never done that, ever. I am so thorough, so honest, so transparent with all of my data that supports everything that I'm saying. And I still get asked time and time again, but really? And I'm like, I'm so fed up. And would it be that way if I was a man? I don't know. We can never compare, can we? We haven't walked in those shoes. But we do keep hearing stories again and again of male startups. I just saw one on LinkedIn the other day. Pylon, I think it was, in the States. We raised our Series A in 6 days without even a pitch deck. We just booked 85 meetings in 5 days, and then we just went out. And again, it's like, that's so masculine. I don't have time to do 85 meetings because I've got a family, and I don't want to do 85 meetings in 5 days. And I've got the data in my slides that I've spent a lot of time putting together, so please read it. So yeah, maybe it would be different if I was a man. Maybe. But I don't know. I can't say.
It's all hypotheses.
It's all hypotheses at this stage. But yes, I do find it easy getting meetings. I find it very, very difficult converting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to your point about the grilling questions, the next session that Mikkel Nesager is going to conduct is going to be a live demo of how women can, well, anyone can transition those negative questions into more conducive ones to land funding. So just a little commercial for that one, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. other than funding, one of the things that the Danish commerce authorities have mentioned as a pivotal point when it comes to having successful female entrepreneurs is that we need to be able to see it, to be it, right? You need to have role models. You need to see other people having success. So I'm wondering if the three of you are to a lot of people out here and online role models in your own right. But do you also have people that you admire or mentor relationships or mentee relationships that have been super fruitful?
Yeah, we just talked about this before. We don't put people in boxes, but I figured out recently that all my role models are actually black people. So I think in general, I figured out that I've never seen it. I didn't think about it before. For me, I started my own company here 8 years ago. I was 28 years old when I started it. I used to work for some cool tech guys that had a big success internationally, and I thought if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's how I started. When I started back then in 2015, there was not that many women in this space. Today is actually so nice to see so many women here. But back then there was three women in tech in Denmark before me. So you knew the names of these three women. It was not like you can always go talk to them because they were busy too. But there were three, and so I see these different generations. So I knew these three. Then I believe I'm in the next generation, and maybe in our generation we were maybe 25 in my generation, and then I see the generation that's like the newer one, the even more from Løvens Hule and Dragon's Den and all this stuff. There's a lot of women. And I think it's nice, and we need these role models. At some point, I got an award, and I actually got 400 messages from women in my inbox asking, "Yeah, I would love to have a company, but I don't know how, and where should I go?" And it was in 2015, so it's a long time ago. I also went to this event speaking, and there was this dad, and I remember it so obvious. He had his girl with him. She was maybe 15 years old, and he was like, when I was done talking, he came to me and said, "Yeah, it's because my daughter, she would love to have a web shop, and she's 15, and I don't know what to do about it. So here you go." So he gave her to me, and I tried to help her out. But that was how it was. And it's just a few years ago. So I think. It's important that sometimes we say yes to invitations like this, not just to talk about how hard it is to be a woman at all, but actually to say, I looked at people and I looked at the men saying, if they could do it, I can do it. So you can look at men or you can look at women, but you can see other people, like if they can do it, I can do it too. So I think it's important that we just stand up and show different perspectives on how to do it too. Yeah.
Of course, like you, I get inspiration from many different people, but it could just as well be males as female founders. And I feel like the focus on role models, it can be kind of a cheap solution because I've actually never heard anyone saying, I didn't do my startup because I didn't have any role models. So I'm figuring, okay, probably the biggest issue is money, right? So, and you can never pay your rent with a role model. So, yes, of course, we should encourage people to stand out and to talk about their stories, but it can never be like the political solution for this problem. We have to look at more hardcore solutions.
Yeah, I totally agree with that completely. I think it is a really cheap solution, and I think it's really. What's the point of having role models if your role models are basically behaving like men, just treading on the same path because the path is still the same? It might be different if the role models were treading a different path because the path had been changed to accommodate those role models that are different to men. But right now, that's what we need. We need the path to be changed. We don't need the people that have trodden the path before us and bashed their head on the glass ceiling to be, telling us how to fight the patriarchy too, because that's not what we need. We need a different system entirely. So yeah, I think role models is a cheap solution and a bit of a dangerous one, actually.
To some extent, perhaps, yeah.
And can I just add to that, because I actually think one really important advice here is to, when you start your company or you have a company, be aware of not comparing yourself all the time. Don't compare yourself to other female founders or whatever. It's not the people, because you don't know the people's journey, and you don't know them. But look at the journeys. Look at the steps they took, and compare to those steps instead of the people, because the people can be so difficult to compare with, and you actually don't know the true story maybe. But you can look at that journey and figure out on how to be inspired by the journeys and not be inspired only by the people.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful point that you all bring up, that there's not one blueprint, not one size fits all. It's not like you have to be super ambitious, let's go for the unicorn to be an entrepreneur. You can do that. That's one mold. Another mold could be that you want to have more balance in your life in terms of having time for your family or do an academic career together with your entrepreneurship. There's many different ways of being a female entrepreneur and a male entrepreneur for that matter. I want to return to all of you shortly, but I also want to see if we have any questions in the audience, and also if we have somebody with a microphone running around somewhere.
Just while we wait for that, can I just add in a thought? So I studied Masters in Technology Entrepreneurship, and actually as part of my dissertation I researched stereotypical gendered traits in entrepreneurship and whether they made a difference actually. So bringing in more women is great, but if they're all, again, like, I think it's awesome by the way that you're confident and you're like, I'm going to just be like a man. That's awesome. But I also feel like there needs to be space for women that don't want to do that are not naturally masculine in their traits. And when I started my research, I started testing gender characteristics in people, and I found that all the entrepreneurs in my network, all of the females, we scored really highly on masculine traits. So perhaps there's also an element where accelerators, incubators, early stage schools, etc., can actually maybe look at the traits that they're bringing into their programs, maybe test for it, maybe deliberately and consciously look for femininity, not just women as well, because also feminine males have a really hard time raising money. So I think there's something there as well.
That's a really good point, because for innovation to thrive, we need diversity of thought.
Exactly. And so just bringing in women that act like men, again, it's only part of the solution.
Excellent. We have a question from the audience.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Mika, and I study food tech at both DTU and KU. But I think I have a twofold question, because at uni we are offered a lot of workshops and design sprints and innovative camps, and I've been to them. And when I've been there, I think we've been just as many females as males. So one of my questions is what do you think is that when you get out of university, why does it change so much? Because I feel right now the environment at universities, it really does encourage us women also to participate in these workshops. I see no problem there. So what changes? And then another one is that at universities and in these innovation camps, so much focus is on sustainability. And when I hear startup, tech, afterwards, big business, sales, school, I also see a lack of focus on sustainability, or we should incorporate that more. So do you have a view on maybe if women and sustainability, is it something that could have a positive correlation?
I think, Anna, you touched upon a really good point earlier, which is money. The big difference is money, and women are not being given money to continue their ideas and the types of ideas that they have. So that's probably why the difference comes in, to be honest. And I think one really easy solution, and I know people always laugh when I say this because it's really reducing the problem to nothing, but a really easy solution is investors say yes to women. That's it. They see the women and they say no. So maybe just say yes. Take a chance. Mm-hmm.
And also maybe in terms of what you touch upon on women and sustainability, I actually think you have a really good point there, because the CSR departments are growing heavily these years, and to really understand, and they are most people employed in the CSR are actually women. So they also got the buying power, and for you to relate to them, it can actually be easier to be a female founder. So I think that will also create some openings.
I also think that times has changed. I think there's more women coming. That's so amazing. Um, I have to go back to the confidence thing because I believe that's the most important lesson if I have to pass it on, because you need to be confident when you leave school, because you need to sell whatever. If you are not selling, you're not making money, you cannot hire people. Of course, you can maybe have investors, but they want you to be persuasive as well. You need your confidence, because if you are confident and you know you can do it, then everyone else will believe it too. So you need to make people believe it. You need to make your employees believe it. You need to make the world believe it, because the more the more you can make people believe it, the more confident you get yourself. The more customers will come. So don't doubt yourself. And I think maybe that will hit harder when you need to make money at some point. So be aware and know that you can do it, and also that. In my point of view, it's not about if I can do it or not can do it. My thing is that there's so many ways to do it. So if this way doesn't work, there's maybe 100 other ways I can choose. So in my head, it's not like I can't do it. No, it's not like this way doesn't work. Okay, then I'll just try it another way, because there's 100 different ways. So it's not about me. Of course it can happen. It's just about which way will work. So no, that don't take it personally, or So figure out how you can make it work and find the right way to do it. So, yeah.
We have another question.
My answer was already on half a response by the end, because you told us about the femininity and the energy. In my opinion, and I want to ask, like, all the thing with equality in back years helped us to obtain what we have today. But now if you think, it's also disadvantages, because we try to compete with them and doing in their own ways. And like you said, like, we can find solution to do different tasks in our femininity way would help us. Even you told about selling, because it's real, is not exist a school for selling. And honestly, if we look around and see sales manager, we'll see almost men, because it's not like a university where to look and found and see, oh, they are like teach here and there. It's like more women that do sales are more like they need to enter in some exit unknown ways in the selling department, because like I am good with selling, but I need to be in different fields until I can reach a selling position. And this is my question, like, I feel like you feel like equality really help us, or our feminine energy could be more valued, because in this case on the scene with the kid is not helping your family so much, the equality like live. Like, this is, I feel like we need to change the focus on equality, and more focus like our feminine energy ways to be like more cherished. What is your opinion about this?
I think there's a big difference between equality and equity, and I think that pushing for equality can be damaging, because we are not the same. So we need to acknowledge that men and women have different needs, just fundamentally biologically. Again, men can't have babies, so there is just a fundamental difference in our needs and how we progress our careers and how we allow for families, etc. So equality is not the answer. Equity is.
Maybe one more response to this one, if you have any, and then we'll go to the closing remarks.
I also believe it would be nice for to answer your question, but also to take some of up that we've been talking about before. We talk about that not a lot of funding are going to women. My question back to that would also be, how many women are actually applying for funding? Because I haven't done it yet, or I know a lot of women in tech who haven't applied for funding. So I feel sometimes the boxes are, when I need to tick a box, I don't feel I fit in a box. So I get the numbers wrong, because I'm not in the numbers, and so I feel sometimes it's too locked in the way that we did before. And I know it's not you who can maybe change it, but we can talk about it, and in that way, maybe some people here will be able to change it. That sometimes some of the boxes that we need to tick, it doesn't really fit to the real world. So that would be a thing as well for the people who can actually do something about it.
Totally valid point. So I see the next speakers are getting mic'd up, but I want to give each of you the opportunity to do like a 1-minute remark or so. thinking about that we have a very diverse audience here. What are some takeaway points you think that they should go home with? We have people that are aspiring entrepreneurs. We have people who are entrepreneurs, maybe even very experienced one. We have people from the ecosystem, maybe people who have more structural or political power. So I'm thinking about what should they know? Do you have a take-home message for them?
Yeah, so my message would be don't change you, don't change femininity, you should change the system. So ask investors, why are you asking us to check all these boxes that are only fit for males? Ask your politicians, why do you only provide soft funding for qualities that are typically found in male founders? So continue to ask the questions and don't change yourself, because there are many roads to the goal and you'll find your own one.
Yeah. Can you?
I'm gonna, obviously I'm here with my baby, so I'm very focused on being a female. But to the Danish political system, please consider some more support for female entrepreneurs, and that could look like, for example, soft funding grants to employ stand-in CEOs to cover maternity leave. So I would not need to be sitting on a stage. I could actually be with my baby and not putting him through this torture because he's desperate to go to sleep. Yeah, I think, there are things that could be done. Making sure that companies pay a full wage to their employees who take Basel, providing, they can. Without these stupid, you have to have been there 12 months. I'm sorry, you can't plan when a baby arrives. You can't. So get rid of these 12-month rules, 6-month rules, pay salaries for people on Basel, and give support to female entrepreneurs that are going to have babies. Because without us women, we don't really have a humanity to continue. So that would be my takeaway.
Very good point.
Can I just ask you guys, how many of you would like to start a company at some point? Can you raise your hand? Yes, a lot of you. I love it. Okay, so my final advice here would be, first of all, my own opinion, if this was easy, I would not be here because I'm into finding a gap in the market, and there's a big gap in the market for women in this space. So I want to tell you, this is actually the perfect time for you to start, because at some point, in a few years, there will be so many women here, and then it will be more equal, and maybe you will find something else. So this is actually a perfect time to start. There will be so much help now. There will be a lot of things going on in the future. So my advice would be, get going. When you are women, you stand out. People remember you. They don't remember the other men in the same suits. So just get going, and you'll figure out. You don't need to know everything from the beginning. You'll figure out on the way. Other people don't know everything from the beginning either. You will learn by doing. And the last one to remember is that I always think about, if I'm in a space where there's no line in the women's bathroom, I feel I'm in a really good place, because then I know I stand out. So yeah, maybe you can use that too.
Well, thank you so much to all of the panelists. Thank you to you for joining. If you are hungry for more, we're all going to go to Two Socks, the gin bar, just around the corner, 3 minutes from here at 4 o'clock. So there's an opportunity to do some networking, maybe find some role models and talk to. And this is all for us for now. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.